overhead costs to activities and cost objects. 3, allocate costs to activity cost pool. 4, calculate the activity rates. 5, assign costs to cost objects using activity rates and activity measures. Prepare a management report. And then we already kind of did this one too. Unit level activity are performed each time a unit is produced. The cost of unit level activities should be proportional to the number of units produced. Batch level activities are performed each time a batch is handled or processed, regardless of how many units are in the batch. Costs at the batch level do not depend on the number of units produced, the number of units sold, or other unit level measures of volume. So, every time we're, the example, the dry marker, we have a different color. So we're going to have to, take the machine apart, run the cleaning fluid through the machine to make sure that the color is true color that we want to have in the next marker. So now we're going to produce red markers. So you got to make sure the machine is cleaned out properly, and it takes time. So that's an activity. So how many of those change outs of ink did we make? So it's going to cost, the more we change it out, the more costs there are. So we definitely want to run, runs into the thousands of dry markers, because then there'd be fewer batches to do. All right. Product level activities relate to specific products and typically must be carried out regardless of how many batches or units of product are produced or sold. Customer level activities relate to specific customers and include activities such as sales calls, catalog mailings, and general technical support that are not tied to any specific product. And lastly, our organizational sustaining activity are carried out regardless of which products or product are produced, how many batches are run, or how many units are made. So we're kind of stuck with those organization sustaining activities. And so those costs we're not really going to assign. Now we're going to look at the example. I think they had this one in this edition. If not, it was in the previous edition. So do they have an example called the classic brass example in the chapter there?
Yes, it was.
Okay, so this one is probably in there. So activity cost pools at the classic brass. So our activity cost pools include customer orders, product design, order size, customer relations, and other. And I think this was supposed to be like this. Yes. Our activity measure the number of customer orders. So that's what we're going to use as our allocation base. Number of product design. That's what we're going to use for product design cost pool. Machine hours is going to be used for order size for that activity. For customer relations, the number of active customers. Other, that would be our organizational sustaining activities. We're not going to allocate costs. It doesn't apply. We're going to treat it as a period cost and the time period incurred. All right, so I hope that helps some. Now, here's the classic brass example. So this is in your book. You don't need copies of this, do you? So I'm pretty sure these numbers are the same numbers in your textbook, are they? Justin?
I think it is.
Looking at them right now, it looks like they're
They're a little bit
they're
different.
yeah they're
Oh,
different.
are they?
The
So, okay.
breakdowns are the same, but the numbers are different.
Yeah, so they just, when they updated their edition, they just used different numbers, but they kept the same model basically. So direct materials, direct labor, that's traced directly to the product. So that's no problem. We're going to do that just like we've done it with our traditional or volume-based costing systems. Shipping is directly traceable. it's a non-manufacturing cost. It's a selling cost. But in activity-based costing, you can go ahead and do that. You can do that for all cost or whatever cost you want because you're trying to determine the cost of activity. So you don't try to not include something that's part of the cost. And then overhead costs. So that's the activities that they break down: customer orders, product design, order size, customer relations, other. That's not going to be allocated. All right. And then you look at the annual overhead costs, both manufacturing and non-manufacturing costs. So for production department, our indirect factory wages, 500,000. That's the cost for this pool of activity. Factory equipment depreciation, factory utilities, faculty building lease. So those are all the costs. Those are manufacturing costs. They're manufacturing overhead costs, are they not?
Can you
Indirect.
move it over and up a little?
Move it over this way.
Nope, the other way.
Oh, okay. So you can't read these numbers in this column because I thought you could have before.
Yes, if you could push it up a little.
Well,
There
yeah.
you go. Thank you.
So then
That's perfect.
they have the shipping costs, general administrative department, administrative wages and salaries, office equipment, depreciation, administrative building leases. So they're taking all cost, aren't they, that they can, that has to do with this cost pool. So shipping costs are traced directly to customer orders. So that's what we're going to do. We take the shipping cost divided by customer orders. All right. And this is all kind of in your book, but different amounts. So then now they're going to allocate a percentage of those costs for the different activities. When I push it over this way, can you read the production department there? Or is there something in your view?
Yes.
You
I
can
just
read it?
can't see totals. Yeah, you just can't see totals.
Well, see, in my screen, I got everybody's there, I can see them. And I'm trying to move it around so I don't have it there. Now it's across the top. All right. So here's, yeah, it's hard to get the whole thing on there, isn't it? Because we're a little bit off there. So you just remember this total column is 100%. It's just adding all these percentages across. So that's good all the way there. So let's see if I could, the best possible way here might be something like that. Okay, is everybody good with that? So then this has to be given to you. There's no way you're going to know. So they're going to tell you the percentages for indirect factory wages for customer orders. That's one activity. Product design, order size, customer relations, other. And so that is all given to you. You just set it up. And then the next step is to multiply these percentages times the cost for ordering. And so let's add up this. This is 25 and 20 is 45. And then that's going to be 50, 60, 90, 120. So yes. And then this adds across 100%, but coming down customer orders. Well, that's because the cost for customer orders, indirect factory wages, of those wages, customer orders, cost pool is going to get that. Product design is going to get 40%, 20% for order size, customer relation, 10 other. That activity here will not be determined because we're just going to expense it off. Okay, but it accounts for 100% of the cost. how the cost is going to be allocated. All right. So now that you got those percentages, you can get the dollar amounts. So you use those percentages times the total cost for indirect factory wages. Let's see. Let's see if I have that. I thought I had it. Yes, indirect factory wages is 500,000. If you multiply it by 25%, don't you get 125,000? Then if you multiply it by 40%, 40% of 500,000, that would be $200,000 exactly. And so that's all you do, and you total it up for the different cost pools. So the total cost for customer orders is 315,000. For product design is 257,000. Order size 380,000. Customer relations 367,500. And then the other, that's just going to be total. We're not going to get an activity rate. And then you divide each one of these totals by our activity measure, right? So our activity rate, we calculate the activity rate, right? So we have our total costs that we calculated, and we're going to divide it by the number of orders. So we have 315, that's the activity rate for customer orders. So we can apply what the costs are depending on how many customers for a particular product line or whatever. Product design, we're going to use the number of designs. We have 200 designs. Here's the total cost. So we're going to allocate it by the number of designs. Order sizes, we're using machine hours as the activity rate. We divide it and we get, or this is the allocation base, and we arrive at the activity rate. Same thing here. The other was not applicable. We don't allocate it. We just go ahead and expense it off. So did that help at all going over that? You probably read the chapter and you were looking at a similar example. Any questions on any of that? And we could do an example problem. All right, let's turn to the problem 7-16. 7-16. So, hey, Justin, could you do me a favor since it's easier if you read it for me? Could you read that problem for me?
Yep. So P716.
Yes. What page number is that on for everybody?
Still looking. I think I went too far.
Okay, that happens. 716, I believe, is on 349. Am I right?
Yes.
Yes, you are.
Okay. So there it is.
Got it. All right, ready?
I'm ready.
Complete traditional and activity-based product margins. High-tech manufacturing, Inc. Make two types of industrial components, the B300 and the T500. And
So
absorption,
two different products. Go on.
an absorption costing income statement is listed below. Sales, $2,100,000. Cost of goods sold, $1,600,000. Gross margin, $500,000. Selling and administration expenses, $550,000, with a net operating loss of $50,000.
Okay. And what do they want us to do here?
There's still some more. There's a lot of info.
Oh, there's a lot more info, isn't there?
There's like a whole page of info, and there's 3 questions.
Yeah. Let's just get to the questions. And then
Okay.
we'll-
Using table 7-13 as a guide, compute the product margin for the B300 and the T500 under the company's traditional costing system.
Okay, so let's first go back into the chapter. What was the exhibit number, and then somebody go back there and find what page it's on.
713.
It's on,
No, that's the exhibit number.
oh, what's the exhibit number again?
Yes, the page is,
713.
it's page 329.
329. And there it is, right at the bottom. So what do they have there? Oh, it looks like product margin traditional cost system. Am I looking at the right page?
Yes.
So then
Can-
we're going to go ahead
Can you
and
show it in your camera?
show what, the page?
Yeah.
Oh, don't you have the page?
Yes, but I'm going to take a screenshot.
You're going to take a screenshot of this? And
Yes, so I can do it on my computer.
you can do that? See, I
Oh,
don't
yeah.
know. Yeah, but I don't know if I can get it all on there. Can you get it on there and you get a screenshot?
I think that's good enough. Oh,
Okay.
crooked, but it's okay.
Here, you can take two pictures. Here, do that one right there. I straightened it out. Did you take a picture yet?
Okay.
And then what if I do this, bring it over now? You have it all in there.
Perfect.
Wait, maybe I can, that's about as good as I can get. Did you take a
That
picture?
works. Yep. We're good.
Yeah, see, you missed some of those. That's why you gotta take two pictures. Okay, so we're going to show the traditional income statement, right? We're gonna show sales, cost of goods sold. Oh, this is the variable cost, isn't it? Direct materials, direct labor, but manufacturing overheads both. So it is the traditional product margin. So wait a second, is that selling administrative? So they're showing product margins, but I guess they didn't break it down into variable and fixed, did they? They just lumped it all together, the manufacturing overhead costs and the selling administrative costs.
Yeah, they just broke
Okay.
it down into the two different products and then the
Yeah.
total cost.
So can we do that? Can we go ahead and do that right now? That should be easy for you, right? So have your columns. We just have two products, B300 and T500, and then we have a total column. Isn't that right? And under the traditional, that we're using direct labor dollars as our cost base for the costing system. So that's what we're going to allocate. So the manufacturing overheads applied to products using the predetermined overhead rate. So let's see, do they give us all that information? The predetermined overhead rate, the amount for B. So the estimated total manufacturing cost. There it is, manufacturing overhead. It's right there at, is it 608,000 in the middle of page 349? Yep. All right. So we're using direct labor costs. How much are our direct labor costs in total? It's 304,000, isn't it? 304,000. So how do we go about doing that? Let's see if I remember. I remember somebody saying it's the estimated manufacturing overhead. So the total manufacturing cost, $608,000. Okay, let me see something here. Additional information, 2 product lines is shown below. 70,000 units. The company's traditional costing allocates manufacturing overhead to products using a plant-wide overhead rate, direct labor dollars. Okay, so the direct labor dollars are 304,000 in total, right?
Right.
So can we get a ratio here? My calculator, my dollar calculator broke today in my morning class, but luckily I got the fancy one here. This is present value, future value. So You already divided it. Let me divide it. 608 divided by 304. It looks like it's going to be 2. That's what you said, wasn't it? So for every dollar of direct labor cost, we're going to apply twice as much for manufacturing overhead. Does that make sense? So it's not you don't put a dollar sign in front of it. It's $2, or is it? So it would be, wouldn't it? So if you divide this, it comes out to 2. So you're spending twice as much on manufacturing overhead as to $1 of direct labor cost. All right. So what would our sales be? Well, do they give us sales dollars here? They sold 70,000 units of
2.1.
B300. B300 is $20 per unit times 70,000. That's 1.4, isn't it? Did you say that, Vanessa?
No, it showed sales 2.1.
But we're breaking it down, remember, into two
Yeah.
products. So for our product B, so let's write that down. B300, that's one product. And then the other was a T500.
Yes.
And then our sales, we have to use the information in the middle of the page.
70,000 units for the B300.
Yes. So you take 70,000 and you multiply it by $20,
Times
correct?
20.
So that's 1.4 million, isn't
Right.
it? So that's easy enough. I mean, we're trying to make it look like that exhibit. Now we had sold 17,500 of T500 at a price of $40. So what's 17.5 times 40?
700,000.
700,000 even?
Yep.
So we probably need a total column then for both products added together. Our total sales is at 2,100,000. And I don't even know if that's in the screen. Oh, it is. Okay, that's better.
There you
Right there. All right. And then we're going to look at our cost. Do we know what direct material costs are for each direct material? Well, they give us
go.
400.
Advertising expense.
What is it?
We have advertising expense. Yeah, we have direct materials for each. So
Yeah.
B300 is 436,300.
Yes. 436,300, did you say?
Yes.
And then for T500, was it like 200?
251,700.
Okay. So our sales, we're
A
going to,
total of 688.
well, yeah, it is, isn't it? 688. And then we have direct labor associated with these two products, right? And they
Okay.
give us that
200,000
200,000
and
for
104,000.
Yes, for T500.
Total of 304.
Yes, that's right. And then we have manufacturing overhead, don't we?
Which is just a total of 608,000.
Because it's traditional, right? So
Right.
we have 1,600,000. Now, is that the total cost?
Not including
No,
the totals.
That's cost of goods sold, isn't it?
Yeah.
Cost of goods sold. Cost of goods sold. So this doesn't include the sales. It's just these three numbers, right? Because our cost, the traditional way, is direct materials, direct labor. Those are
That'd be
product costs.
500,000.
And then the product cost also includes manufacturing overhead. So that's product cost. That's full costing. We have to use absorption cost to include all manufacturing costs, right? So is that all they wanted in requirement 1? Let's read that. Use exhibit 713 as a guide. Compute the product margin. Oh, under the company's traditional. So then our total manufacturing cost we have, and when we subtract it from our sales, what do we get? How are we allocating? This is the total manufacturing. Did we use direct labor costs? Oh, how much was direct labor cost? For 200,000. So we got to multiply that by 2 to allocate 400,000 to B300. Am I doing that right? Does that make sense? So that's, oh,
Can you explain why you do that a little bit more?
this right here, this number?
Yeah,
The-
yeah.
Yeah, these numbers were all given. They gave us the total manufacturing overhead. And let's read the requirement again so we fully understand it. Compute the product margin for B300 and T500. Here's the key phrase: under the company's traditional costing system. So the traditional costing system, we're going to include all manufacturing costs. So they gave us, and they split it out between the 2 product lines for direct materials and direct labor. You understand that, right?
Yeah.
Okay, this was given, but they didn't break it out. But under traditional, this is our predetermined overhead rate that we calculated here, right? This is supposed to be an O. Predetermined overhead rate. This is the traditional way, right? Our manufacturing cost divided by our direct labor costs. Direct labor cost. Okay.
So you're multiplying the direct labor by the predetermined overhead, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Here's the predetermined overhead rate is 2. We're going to multiply for B300. They have direct labor cost of 200,000.
Yeah, I just got lost for a second. I understand now.
Okay, good. Because I mean, I don't know if you got it or not. I was just gonna, go slow again. So then you tell me what this would be for the manufacturing overhead, Jared.
208,000.
There you go. Yes. Now we can get our cost total
Quick question.
manufacturing. Yes, tell me your quick question. So this
When we-
is cost of goods sold because we use all manufacturing, but we can also say it's total
Oh.
manufacturing costs, correct? Because manufacturing costs consist of 3: direct materials, direct labor, and manufacturing overhead. So we'll add this up here and make sure I'm adding correctly. And is it $1,036,300?
Yes.
Okay, so now we're
I've-
going to subtract that from sales. And would that give us our product margin? It would, wouldn't it? Now, what's your question there, Vanessa?
I figured it out because regardless of whether you do the B300 or the T500 by 2, it figures out the same way. So it doesn't matter which product that you use times the 2, you still get the same answer. So I was just wondering,
if we're
is that
applying,
always the case though?
well, if we're applying overhead, 2,
Okay.
2, it's twice as much as the direct labor. So what was the direct labor? It's 200,000. So
200.
we got to.
So
So how
times
do we
2.
get the manufacturing overhead that should be for B300? For every $1 of direct labor cost, they have 400 or they have 200,000. We have to apply $2. So $2 times the 200,000, or actually it's just 2 times 200,000 gives us 400,000. So we have
I
direct
was,
labor of 104 multiplied by 2. And when you add this across, it equals the total manufacturing overhead, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So I don't remember if we ever applied, I thought we did. We applied the manufacturing overhead, dividing it by direct labor cost. We did it by direct labor hours a lot, machine hours. You can also apply it by dividing it, if it tells you in the problem, direct materials. And that would give you, ratio between your overhead to direct material costs. But in
Wait,
this,
this probably is stupid. This is just traditional, right?
yeah, this is what we've done in the past.
Yeah.
So what they're doing is they're comparing what traditional costing method has for this problem. And then now we're going to change it. Let's do it under activity-based costing and see if we see a difference. Okay, so what is the difference here? We got 251,700. So that's going to be 700 coming down here. We got 12, 13, carry my 1, 6, 5. Did I do my math correctly there? And then we got to subtract. Oh, right there. Yeah. So we do have a positive product margin for B300, don't we? Mm-hmm. And let's see, is it 364,000 for the product margin?
Yeah.
So our sales minus our total manufacturing cost, we're going to do the same thing, 700,000 and subtract this. So that's going to be 3 and then 9, that's going to be 6, right? And then that's going to be 3 and that's going to be 136,000. Did I do that correctly? And then if we add 364,000 plus the 136,3, get the total to be $500,300. Okay, everybody calculate it that way?
so quick question, for your product margin, you took your sales of 1.4, right? And
Minus
then
total
minus,
yeah,
I think that's, and that's 1,036,300.
yes.
So you should, did you have 363?
I have 364.
It should be 363,700.
Oh, it should be because I didn't do that. That's what I didn't do.
Come on, Ed. What are you doing?
I'm making mistakes like all human beings. I'm
Get your
proving-
head in the game here.
Well, I didn't have to get 100% when I passed the class. I don't
All
know.
my answers.
I don't think anybody could get 100%. Well, there's probably somebody out there, somebody that's a genius. I'm not a
Yeah.
genius. Now, we got that right. Is this one right? Did I do that one right? So this one must be wrong. Or yeah, is it 500,000 altogether? Nothing
So 136.3. Yeah, that's good.
when you add them
And then
together.
plus
136.3.
500,000. Yeah, you're good.
Okay. All right. I must have my head in the game. Yes. So that really isn't hard, right? I mean, we've done this
No.
before. So it's just we're changing gears from the traditional approach to activity-based costing. But in this chapter, they want you to go back and do the traditional and see what difference we have. Now, let's see what the problem states. Okay, so we're going to use Exhibit 711 as a guide. Compute the product margin for B300 and T500 under the activity-based costing system. So we got to turn the page before it shows right at the bottom, doesn't it? It shows the manufacturing overhead for machining. That's an activity. And they're going to use the allocation base of machine hours. Setups, setup hours. The third activity is product sustaining, and we're going to use number of products. And then the other organization sustaining costs, we're not going to allocate that. We're going to treat it as a period cost. So we have really 3 costs here that are in cost pools. We got, I can't show it. There's not enough room. That's a shame. But hopefully you're on page 349 at the bottom. So machining, the total overhead is 213,500. And how did they allocate that? B300 had 90,000, T500 had 62,500. Well, how many machine hours did B300 have versus T500? Do they tell us?
No.
Oh. So these are the costs for the machining. So it was based
Did you
on
take the 213.5 divided
Oh.
by 90?
or these are machine hours, right? Because
Yeah, I
they
think so.
they didn't put a dollar sign, so they are the machine hours. So B300 takes up 90,000 machine hours. T500 only uses 62,500 machine hours. The total machine hours, that's correct. 90,000 plus 62,500 would equal 152,500 machine hours. Okay, setups. There must be a total of 375 setups, 75 for B300, 300 for T500, and then product sustaining. There's only 2. There's 2 products, B300 and T500. So since there's 2, and we're just going to go 50% of the cost for product sustaining will be attached to both B300 and T500. And then the organization sustaining costs, we do not try to assign to the products. That just becomes a period cost. So now we can take the machine hours, right? The total machine hours. So we got to come up with activity rate. We know what the allocation base is for machining. It's the number of machine hours. So let's go ahead and take the number of machine hours, 152,500, and I'm going to put M/H to indicate those are machine hours. And we're going to take the total cost for machining, which is 213,000. So my activity rate, if I divide 152,500, and there's my calculator. It was hiding underneath the page.
It's 71%.
You did 71%.
Mhm.
I'm gonna go dollars
Oh,
per machine hour. Don't we want to do that?
no, I
213,000.
did it wrong.
Oh, you must be human as well. 'Cause
Yes. So I got 1.4.
Yes, that's what I got. I'm wondering
Wouldn't
if
that be 140? Or is that $1.40?
well, it could be $1.40 rounded to the nearest penny, right? Because that's what I got in
Yeah.
the calculator. Did you get that?
Oh, no. Yours is more high tech than mine.
Yes,
I
it
actually
is.
got 1.4.
See, because it rounded for you. In the problem, does it tell us that we have to round to 2 decimal places, or doesn't it mention
No, I
anything?
don't think so.
So you think 1.4 is going to be good enough? Here, I'm just double checking the requirement. They don't say anything about rounding. Round to 2 decimal places. If we do, then it would be $1.40, right? It's not going to be that much different. So $1.40 is what we're going to, is going to be our activity rate for machining. Okay, does everybody understand that? Jared, you got that? So
I
like,
do, yeah.
so like what we're doing is we're kind of like calculating predetermined overhead rates for each activity, but it's not called predetermined overhead rates. It's called activity rate. We take the cost of that cost pool and we decide, well, what is going to be the allocation base? They told us machine hours is going to be the allocation base. So then we figure it out, the activity rate, $1.40 for each machine hour. So like between B300 and T500, you would take 90,000 machine hours, multiply it by $1.40, and that's how much of the 213,500 gets assigned to that product B300. And
It'd be
for
126,000.
okay, and then for T500, what's 62,500 machine hours times $1.40? What's that give you?
87,500.
87,500. Very good. Okay, so now the setups. So this is the machining. So that's one activity, right? And then another activity is its setups. Is that what they call it? Setups.
Yes.
I have a question.
That's a good question you have. You gonna
Um,
share it?
How did you get 213,000?
Oh, because on page 349 in your textbook, oh, I made another mistake as a human being, didn't I? Is that what you're pointing out to me?
Yeah.
Oh, so that's how
No,
you
it's
are.
500.
That's what Vanessa caught me last time. My eyeballs aren't reading the hundreds, only the thousands. I guess it's chunk change to me now that I'm old. $500 isn't much. So that's going to change that. And it probably
No, I
changes to a 140 exactly. Let me run it through my high tech calculator, but I'm going to
Yeah,
say
because I
it
put
comes
it
out
in.
exactly. You put it in correctly.
Okay.
Uh-huh. And you saw I put 213, Vanessa, and you caught me
Oh.
last time. Darn, I was going to give you 2 bonus points. Now I have to take away 1.
You can give the other one to Kadiza.
Okay, I might do that. Would she mind if, yeah, now I get $1.40 because very good catch. I'm glad people are following along because then, I make mistakes. What time did I get up this morning? Any idea?
Probably
3:30.
It was 4:30 this morning, was
Oh.
it? I was up at 3:30 and I thought, geez, I should send that recording to that one online class. So I said, I better do that. I did a little reading before I got into work. So I try to do a little bit of reading of the good book, kind of gets me off started on a positive note. And then I went ahead and did the video. So now that I'm doing these videos, I might become a video star. And then I got thinking, there's tens of thousands of accountants or students taking accounting. And then what happens if my videos go viral? I could make money doing this, couldn't I?
Okay.
And then I could do subscriptions. If you like this one, there's more. You get the next 10 videos for like $19.99. So it only costs you $1.99 for each video. What do you think of that? You think I can make money doing that? And I can give up my day job?
So on your 150, did you put 152 or did you put 150? You put 152 on there. It's supposed to be 157.5.
I did.
So-
It is.
Mhm.
It is. That's for the setups, right? No, wait a second.
So it should be
Hold,
1.36.
hold on. Hold on. Do you see that? That's my finger, the shadow of my finger. So now go back into your textbook on page 349. Look at the total number of setups. These are dollars. These are dollars. And these are machine hours because this is the machining. So let's look at that table on page 349 more carefully. So
I get it.
they tell you the machining cost, that's the manufacturing overhead of 213,500. They tell you how many machine hours each activity use. For product line B300, they had 90,000 machine hours, and for T500, it was 62,500. So when you add up to get your total machine hours, you get 152,500 machine hours. So that's why we get $1.40 per machine hour. Now it just so happens the cost of setup cost 157,500. See, I said it right, but I wrote it wrong. That's what happens when you get older. Your mind's thinking something and your hands are doing something else. You got to coordinate them together. Okay, so that's the total cost of manufacturing overhead for setups. But it's going to be, the activities rate's going to be based on the allocation of the number of setups. So B300,
375.
yeah, B300 had 75 setups, but T500 had 300. So in total, there's 375 setups.
Which is 420.
So setup. So that's a batch thing. So for every batch, what did you come up with?
420.
420. I'm gonna see if I get the same on my calculator. Oh, my calculator shuts off automatically. Got to turn it back on. 157.5 divided by the 375 setups. Did you get 420 per setup? $420 per setup.
So then it would be 420 times 75, which will give you 31,500.
31,500.
And then
Yes.
420 times 300 is going to give you 126,000.
Wow. Is everybody following? Is everybody following? That's excellent.
I am.
Okay. Yes, you are? Good job, Jared. So
Thank you, Ed.
I'm not losing people because I don't know. In the classroom, I get really excited and I go super fast, right?
Yes.
And I'm slowing down because of this technology slows me down.
good.
Okay. I guess it probably is good. Okay. So now the next one is what? Product sustaining. So that's an
Yeah.
activity. That's an
And it'll be
activity.
60,000 for each.
Yes, because there's only two products.
Right.
So
And
the
then
total,
we don't worry about organization.
right. So there's 120,000 divided by 2. So it's going to be 60,000 per product. All right. So we're good there. Let's see if we answered part 2. It says use 7-1. What does 7-1 look like? Compute the product margin. Oh, isn't there that one kind of shows sales, but then it breaks it all down? A direct material and direct labor is easily traced to each product. So that's not a problem. We just take, wasn't the direct materials for,
And costs go into overhead costs.
yeah, but we got to start with direct materials and direct labor first because those go to B300
Product.
gets, Yeah, as a product. So B300 gets $436,300, right? So let me see. I'm going to be using these activity rates when I do this, but let's set this up. Am I setting this up correctly? I got B300 for a column, and then I get T500. And then
Yep.
in the book, does it show total or not?
Yes.
Okay, it shows
Yes.
total. I got to move this way.
And
So
before B300, it does show manufacturing overhead.
before it, doesn't
Yeah.
it show, don't we have to show sales first?
Oh,
Sales
you're
is,
pulling from the top. Which,
well, they said exhibit 711. Am I not thinking?
oh,
like-
you said 7-1. Sorry.
Did I say 7-1? I thought I said 7-11. Did anybody hear me say 7-1? Besides,
That's 7-1.
I said 7-1 then.
So page 327.
Yeah, but it's 7-11. 7-11, 7-11. So,
On the same page.
okay.
So there is no
700.
totals.
Oh, there isn't? But we could if we wanted to, couldn't we have?
Yeah.
Good. Let's do a total just to be consistent with the traditional method, right?
Yeah.
So there's our sales. We're going to subtract all the cost to manufacture it. So are there manufacturing costs called direct material for both these product lines? Is direct
Yes.
material 436,300?
Yep.
For B300, for T500, is it 251,700?
700.
And when you add those two together, does that give us 688,000?
Yep.
And then there's direct labor costs, right?
Correct.
And for B300, is it 200,000? I believe so.
Yes.
And was it 104,000 for,
Correct.
all right. And then added together,
These are
that would be,
304.
yeah. So this is kind of goes faster because a lot of it's the same. Now this is where it changes, right? Is advertising cost? What did they say about advertising costs? Do they mention that here? Is there advertising expense?
So shipping,
I thought I saw it somewhere. Where do they mention it?
yes. 50,000 and 100,000 for
Where
advertising.
where is
expenses.
it? Where is
At
it?
the bottom of 349, right above that last chart.
Ah, yes.
So
50,000
50,000 for the
yeah.
B300.
I got it highlighted now. High-Tech's ABC implementation team concluded that 50,000, 100,000 of the company's advertising expense could be directly traced. So that's why we're going to see, because activity-based costing doesn't just look at manufacturing costs. You can look at non-manufacturing costs, right?
So how did you know to do advertising cost? Because it's
Because-
not on example 711. I know you're the
No.
teacher, you've been doing it for 40 years, but how would we know that?
Well, because in the reading, and I mentioned it, let me see exactly where I mentioned it. I could have sworn I had it in my notes, but maybe I didn't say it. Jeez, where are my notes? They're over here.
You may have, but I missed that part.
Well, maybe I didn't say it because I've been messing up a lot. That's what happens when you don't get good sleep. So if I'm taking an exam today, it would not be a good day for me because my mind isn't as sharp. Let me see if I have it here. Identifies significant activities and assigns overhead costs to each activity. Nope, it's not right there. Gosh darn it, I could have sworn. Oh, maybe it's here. Yes, here it is, I think. Note, direct materials, direct labor costs are assigned to each product in the usual way as traditional or volume based. It identifies the overhead costs assigned to each activity is called activity cost pool. High broad categories. Cost flow. Organization defined. Shapers, scrapers. I thought I said that activity-based costing will include non-manufacturing costs. I did say that, didn't I? That it also assigns non-manufacturing costs. Because I think in the problem, shipping cost was easily
so
traced. Shipping expense would be another example, but they didn't have shipping expense in this example. But advertising, they knew exactly. Maybe they advertise, okay, we're going to throw $50,000 toward advertising B300. So on the radio, they're just talking about their B300 product line. You know what I'm saying? Or maybe it's this mailed out brochures or pamphlets to the distributors, to different distributors, depending on which product line they would be interested in. I don't know, but they could easily and trace the advertising cost, and they told us how much for each product line. And because of that, we could say that's a cost pool. You know, we have a cost, the activity is advertising, and we know the exact amount for both products. So we're going to assign it. So what was the amounts? Was it 50,000 to B300? And 100,000 for
Yes. And 100,
okay.
150 total.
Yes, that's right. So then what follows? Because advertising expense was a little tricky, but again, I'm saying it again because in the multiple choice question on the exam or in the problem, if we have it and they tell you it's directly traceable to the different products, well, then you got to include it under activity-based costing. So you won't make that same mistake again. Am I right?
Right.
Okay. So now I got these notes all over the place, and let me see if I can kind of reorganize them. That goes over like that. I'll stick this over here like that. Okay, it's out of the way. So now, how about machining? How are we gonna do that? Well, machining, gosh, where is it? Oh, it's over here on this sheet of paper. Machining, we have our right here. $1.40. Oh, you can't see it. That's the trouble with that camera. It's not as big as I want it to be.
Can you zoom out on it?
No, that's the problem. Well, I could
Oh.
manually move this thing around, but we don't want to do that. See, look, I brought it closer. I just want to
Mhm.
keep it because I could go like that, but I don't think that's as helpful as.
Oh, there you go.
You think that's all right to look at?
Right there. Yeah. Just make it as big, as wide as the page.
Well, it's about as wide.
Not as long, but as wide. That works.
Yeah, there you go. All right. So we're going to show $1.40 for every machine hour. So how many machine hours did B300 have? Was it 90,000 machine
Yes.
hours? So multiply 90,000 machine hours times $1.40. That's the activity rate for machining. So when we multiply it, it should give us the total amount we're going to assign for machining.
Which is 126,000.
Okay. Anybody confirm that number? Nobody else? It's just me and Vanessa. Everybody else fell asleep.
Okay.
All right.
I got the same number.
Okay. How about for T500? How many machine hours did T500 have?
87,500.
Oh, 87,500 times $1.40.
No, 62,500 times the $1.40, which gives you 87.
Wait a second. What number did you give me originally? Because I asked you to give me the machine hours.
You wanted 90,000. You wanted
Yeah.
90,000 times 1.4. That's
Yeah.
126,000.
But
And
I
then
already had that.
62.5.
Didn't I already have that down on paper? I didn't
You asked
need,
for it. Oh,
I,
okay.
yeah.
Well,
and
now you're getting T500, which is
yes, how many
87,500.
hours for how many hours is it?
It's 62.5.
62.5 hours? Or is it
62,500.
62,500 hours times
Yes.
a buck 40?
1.4,
Now, what's
which
that going to
is
give me?
87,500.
And then when you add them together,
$213,500.
213,500.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Yes. Okay, we're good there. So that's machining. And then next would be setups. What's the setup cost total going to be to each? So there were how many setups? 300? No, there were 75 for B300.
Right.
So
and
what was
300
the
for Linux.
cost? Oh, it's $420 for each setup. So
Yep.
on page 349, B300 has 75 setups. So you have to take the number of setups, 75 times the activity rate that we
Or 20.
calculate. Yeah. And what's that give you?
31,500.
That's right. Now
And then
T500 has 300. So 300 times, would it be?
420
Yeah.
would
300
be
times
126,000.
it's a lot more money assigned for that.
Mhm.
What was it?
126,000.
And then together is that 157,500?
Yep.
So that's for the setups. And then what
I have a
else do we have? Somebody has a quick question.
How did you get for B300?
Which one? The setups?
For the setups, yeah. How did you get 30?
Okay. So
500.
can you get to page 4 or 349?
Yeah.
Okay, look at the bottom, page 349, where it says
Mhm.
setups. And then you
Mhm.
see under B300, there's
Yeah.
75, and T500, there's 300. So there's a
Yeah.
total of 375 setups. So that's what we had to do, was take the number of setups and divide it by the total cost in the cost pool to get
Mhm.
$420 per each setup. So B300 had 75 setups. So with your calculator, take 75 and multiply it by $420. And what do you get?
Okay.
How much?
31,500.
Yes, that's exactly how we got it. Now tell me how you're going to get up the total cost for B500. You're going to take the $420 and what are you going to multiply? How many setups do they have for T500?
300.
300. So you multiply 300 times the $420 per setup that we calculated here. And that gives us 126,000. Good. More people are grasping it because I'm going slow, and I'll even go slower if you want. Let's see. Did we go overboard on our time again? So we're almost done. So what else do we have besides setups? Product sustaining.
Okay.
So I'm just going to abbreviate. That's going to split it in half, right? It's $120,000 in total.
Right.
So each product line.
60,000.
What is it?
60,000.
It's 120,000 in total. So therefore
Correct.
60,000 for each. And that's for product sustaining. So then you total up the costs, right? And you can find you add up all these costs subtracted from the sales, and you get your product margin. So the product margin comes out
So
to,
we just leave off other then?
yeah, because it's not applicable, because you're not
Okay.
gonna allocate it to either product line. You're gonna expense it all off as if it is a period cost. So there's
Can
your
you move the
product margin.
paper?
Like that or down?
No. To the left and down a little. Right there.
All right.
Oh.
You can't see that.
No, that's perfect.
And then
Thank you.
what's my total cost? Let me see if I could do it. Is that 903?
903, 800,
That's right. That's right.
and then 729, 200.
All right. Or oh, I have that backwards. It's called transposing the numbers. Right? Oh man. I've been a real human being today.
Can we get human being credit for our homework then?
Well, I always give credit, don't I? If you give me something to look at.
Right?
Now, do you always get 100%? No, because not
Not always,
everybody, but you get a lot of the points, right? If I really graded it and been nitpicky, it could be a lot lower. Am I right?
Truth.
Of course, but I'm not. I'm kind of generous, I thought, when I grade the homework.
Yes.
It could be totally wrong and you get 70%. I'm looking for effort, but on game day, we got to have results. You know, there's pressure on game day. We got to be able to perform under pressure. All right. So I think people have a better understanding. Now,
I think-
there's a handout problem I got a link for you in the homework assignment. You have one out of the book and a handout problem. So I want you to do both for next time. And
So
then,
just on that note, I went ahead and typed in the book problem and the handout problem because it was a PDF and a Word document. So I'm just going to send that out to everybody because I feel it's easier to work it from a Word document.
you made it a Word document.
I did.
So you
I
can
even send it to
manipulate it.
you.
So you can manipulate it. Yeah,
Yes.
I don't know what the benefit is, but send it to me. There must be some
That's okay.
benefit. Tell me what the benefit of having a Word document. I can
I
change
can't
the
type
numbers.
it in a PDF. Yeah, I can't put it in a PDF. I can't type on a PDF. I can type in a Word document though.
But you don't have to type up the problem. The problem's already done for you. All you have to do is the solution.
Well, with the solution, but to have it all in one spot so that you can work from one page. That's how I do it.
Oh, I see. So you don't do it on an Excel spreadsheet.
Sometimes I
It
do.
also
It just
You're
depends.
when you're reading the problem and highlighting the
Oh,
When
is
you
it?
problem, yeah.
Oh, I just highlight the
I-
problem right in the book. I just use my highlighter right in the book like I did when I was a student.
It's a lot of flipping.
Well,
So it's just easier for me to look at the screen and be able to search it in my book
well,
as opposed to keep
I'll,
having to flip back and forth.
maybe you can type all my homework problems for all my other students. And then
You
maybe
give me an A for the class and I will absolutely do that for you.
no, maybe the students will pay you like a
Oh,
penny a page. You could make some real money
right?
if you had thousands. If I had thousands of students.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
anyway,
donations definitely accepted.
yeah. So all right, very good. So I hope by going over this problem, it helps with the ABC costing. The main thing I
Yes.
want to emphasize to you is this page right here. When I had to get my activity rates. So you're going to have to find your activity rates, and then you have to know how many, if you have 3 product lines, then you have to divide it up 3 ways, depending on how many machine hours all 3 products use, right? So
Right.
so you guys just have to know, well, what's my allocation base? Here it's based on number of products. Here it's based on number of setups. This was based on number of machine hours. So that's my base. So it's very similar to calculating predetermined overhead rate, right? We just have more activities. So there's more activity rates. So anyways,
So, quick question, as opposed to advertising expenses, what else would be included in that? Just shipping, or would it be
if
all
shipping,
expenses?
if shipping expenses are directly traceable to different products, then we'll allocate that because that's an activity, right? But if shipping cannot be easily divided between one or the other, then they don't even allocate it. They just
Because it
expense
could
it off.
take different boxes
Yeah,
or
different box
different weights.
sizes. Yeah,
Okay.
there's could be a lot of different things. Some might have to be sent by rail, some by air, maybe by boat. It'd be really different costs. So, anyways, there you go. You read that right out of the book, didn't you? Did you highlight it
No, she's just smart. That's all.
or did she write it down or type it up? She typed it up.
Yes.
That's good.
Cherie for the win. Yes.
Does Cherie do like 80 words a minute when she types?
Oh, I don't know.
What do you
How
do?
fast do you type, Cherie?
Do you know? 60's pretty good.
Yeah.
Oh,
Right.
60's pretty good, actually.
I do about 60. I had a friend of mine who was like, God, you type slow. And I was like, what the hell? How much do you type?
Yeah. Ah,
Wow.
are
That's
you
crazy.
sure? Are you sure she's a human being? She might be a robot. She might be a robot.
Maybe an alien.
So interesting. Can you imagine in the future you can buy
Mhm.
robots that will sit in your classes and do your exams? They look just like you.
Well, they're programming us now with the COVID
Oh.
test or the COVID vaccine.
Oh, they're putting that inside your body. Do you think one day they'll have the motherboard attached to your brain and then you just go to the bookstore and buy the chip for accounting 256 and you
Yeah.
put it in and you have instant
Just
knowledge?
slip it.
You just have to pay for it.
Oh,
Man,
that would be amazing.
it took me a whole week to get a degree.
God, I can't wait till those times. I probably won't be around by then, but hey,
Well,
you just have your own floppy disk.
yeah. And can you imagine nobody carries a cell phone because the cell phone is attached to your ear and it looks like a diamond. A diamond stud. And you just want to turn it on. You just flick your earlobe and it turns on.